Hi, I'm Amanda from Integrative Healing with Amanda Butler. I provide energy healing combined with psychological perspectives to facilitate a deeper connection with the divine within. Today we're going to do our third clearing in a series of 7 clearings related to the book, The 7 Principles for Making Marriage Work by John and Julie Gottman. They are psychologists who have done about 40 years of research into what makes marriage work, what makes relationships work. And there's a lot of really good, useful advice in this book. And then we're doing a clearing along with it to kind of integrate some practical steps we can take in the physical world, along with clearing any blocks to actually taking those steps. So today's clearing is about turning towards one another rather than away. And so before I get into anything from the book, there are a couple of things that I want to say maybe kind of unrelated, to maybe the whole relationship focus of this, but kind of related to the relationship we all have with the divine within us. And so the point of everything I'm doing as far as the energy clearing and the integrating the psychological perspectives with that is to help people connect more deeply with the divine within them. And that's an ongoing process. I believe that we are all sparks of the divine, sparks of divine source, and we all have that divine consciousness within us. And there are just a lot of things, things that happen to us, negative patterns, negative programs, things that we can clear with energy clearing that kind of disconnect us from that a little bit. And so on this topic of turning toward rather than away, there's also an important aspect of that, of turning towards the divine within us. There is that divine spark within us that already has the answers to any questions we have about who we are or what is our purpose in this life and that kind of thing. There is the divine within us that already knows, how we can best interact with the people that we're in relationship with in order to have a more joyful experience in our relationships with them. And so when we talk about doing energy clearing or seeking information in books or, working with some kind of healer or spiritual teacher, all of these are resources that can help us with that. And so we have all of these different resources that can help us on our spiritual journey to connect more deeply with the divine within us and turn toward the divine within us. And so there are tools we can use to help us with that. There is information we can look at or read to help us with that. And then there are people who can help us with that. So tools would be something like what I work with as far as the energy modalities that I use. Spiritual response therapy, which uses charts and a pendulum to point out energies that need to be cleared. Quantum speed therapy, that is the same kind of thing with some different charts, or any other modalities that you like Reiki. That's a tool that can be used, and other energy clearing things. And tools should be used for what they're useful for, and sometimes for some things, maybe energy clearing might not be the thing. Maybe the tool is something that helps you to think differently about a certain situation, that can help you work through some thoughts that you're having, maybe shift your perspective, or that can help you work through some difficult emotions that are coming up. So clearing is great and really useful and needed. And also there can be some other tools we can look at, like maybe a shift in perspective. And so along with tools, we also have sources of information that are resources that maybe are reference materials, like the book that I am basing these clearings on. And so it's a useful source of information. And when something, kind of resonates, like, oh, yeah, this is helpful, it, maybe would shift things in my relationship with my partner if I was doing this a little bit differently. That's, in my feeling, my opinion, that's because the divine within you kind of already knows that, and so you're coming across some truth that resonates with your inner truth, and so, there's that resonance there. So there are information sources and, reference materials, and no information source or reference material is complete. They all have limitations, and so we want to keep an open mind about, what is useful in an information source and what maybe some of its limitations are. So this book, The 7 Principles for Making Marriage Work, is really great as far as, different things you can change about how you're interacting with someone, maybe shifting your focus. But some limitations is that maybe it doesn't focus on some of the spiritual causes of what might be at the root of some issues in certain relationships. And so that's where the clearing comes in. So we use different tools and different information sources and references together in combination to have a more complete way of addressing things that need to be addressed. And then there are also people along the spiritual path who can help. People like healers, therapists, coaches, teachers, people like that who can offer us maybe an alternate perspective, who can help us see some things that we're not seeing, because wherever we are in our journey, we all have blind spots, we all have things that we're continuously working on. We're always a work in progress, and we're never going to be able to really see the entire picture with 100% clarity. So someone else can come in and kind of consult with us and be a guide and a companion to us in certain parts of our journey to maybe help us see what we're not seeing, provide some clarity with some things we need some clarity with. And we can consult with them in that way. And so when there's someone that really resonates with us, or maybe an information source or reference material, or even a tool that really resonates with us, it can be tempting to kind of make that into a belief system, like, oh, this is going to solve all of my problems, and, I'll just follow this person, or do everything this book says, or use this tool that I found for everything. And that's maybe not the most useful thing to do. Tools should be used for what they're useful for. Reference materials should be, and information should be referenced for what it's useful for, while being aware of its limitations. And other people you meet along the spiritual path can be consultants and helpers, but there's no need to create a belief system about any of that. And I just wanted to speak to that a little bit, because it's something that I've seen on my own journey and had some experiences with. And so all of these people, these tools, these reference materials are there as sources of help and support along the journey, ideally to help connect you with the divine within yourself, to clear away the layers that of, stuff, energies, whatever, that are maybe kind of in the way of feeling that connection with the divine within you. They're not to replace the divine within you, which is often what I've seen happening. So I just wanted to speak to that. And so along with the turning to the divine within ourselves, there is, when we're doing that, it's maybe easier to turn towards our partner or whoever we're wanting a better relationship with, a more joyful connection with. And so along those lines, the third principle from 7 Principles for Making Marriage Work is turning towards one another instead of away. And so, again, just a note, no affiliation with the Gottman Institute. I didn't receive any compensation or anything like that for talking about this book. I just wanted to share it because it's a resource, reference material, information source I felt to be useful on my own journey and in my work with clients as a marriage and family therapist. So there's that. Also, the services provided in this video and on my website are not therapy. If you are wanting, therapy for any relationship or mental health issues, I'd advise you to find an appropriately licensed professional in your local area. And also, this video is not to be used in situations where there is abuse happening. If you are experiencing abuse in a relationship, please seek out the appropriate resources in your local area to help with that. And so, all that being said, in the book, the Gottmans, who wrote this book, talk about turning towards one another rather than away from each other. And they talk about this in terms of bids for connection. And so a bid for connection would be like if your partner asked you for a hug, or so they were, making a bid for your affection. Or if you were out walking and they said something like, "Oh, look at that cute dog over there." And so you want to turn towards as many of those bids as you can, like with the dog. "Oh yeah, that is a really cute dog. He looks like a dog that I had when I was a kid." Or if your partner is asking for a hug, maybe give them a hug. And the authors of the book say real life romance is fueled by a far more humdrum approach to staying connected than maybe is portrayed in like the media in movies where, there are these big romantic dramas, like all of that. And that love and romance, they say, is kept alive each time you let your spouse or partner know that he or she is valued during the grind of everyday life. And so along the lines of bids that people make for connection, the authors write, "In marriage, people periodically make what I call bids for their partner's attention, affection, humor, or support. People either turn toward one another after these bids or they turn away. Turning toward is the basis of emotional connection, romance, passion, and a good sex life." And the authors discuss these bids in terms of deposits into the relationship's emotional bank account. And so the more times you're turning towards the other person's bids and kind of being responsive to, they're asking for a connection from you, that strengthens the relationship. The authors write that people who do this are building up emotional savings that can serve as a cushion when times get rough, as they're faced with a major life stress or conflict. Because they have stored up all of this goodwill, they are better able to make allowances for each other when a conflict arises. They can maintain a positive sense of each other and their relationship even during hard times. And so the authors go through like a list of different exercises you can explore with a partner or on your own. And they write that remind yourself that being helpful to each other will do far more for the strength and passion of your relationship than a 2-week Bahamas getaway. And so it can be, really nice and really exciting to do like these big romantic things together if you are in a romantic relationship. But sometimes it's these sort of everyday little things, these little moments of making connections with each other that really add up to strengthen the relationship. And so the clearing that we're doing today is focused on turning towards the other in the relationship, whether it's a partner, twin flame, whether you're in a romantic relationship with them or not, or even family members, friends, because these kind of bids for affection and connection and that kind of thing happen in all kinds of relationships. Like if your friend says, "Hey, will you have lunch with me?" That's a bid for your attention and affection. And if you are able to say, "Yes, let's go do that," then, that strengthens that friendship. And so to kind of close out the teaching portion of this, the authors write, when you honor and respect each other, you're usually able to appreciate each other's point of view, even if you don't agree with it. And that continuously building connection with each other, being there for each other, even in these ways that might seem really small, can really build up, like the book says, that emotional bank account and strengthen the relationship so it can weather tough times. So with that in mind, we're going to do this clearing that can clear any blocks to turning towards the other person rather than apart. Because if, things have been difficult, it can be really easy to just want to ignore the other person when they do reach out for you in some way. It can be easy to get caught up in the feeling of, well, you ignored me the last 5 times that I tried to connect with you, so why should I connect with you now that, you are finally reaching out to me, that kind of thing. So clearing anything and everything that stops us from turning towards the other person in the relationship and building connection with them in these small ways and being there for each other in, these ways that consistently build up connection over time. It's all part of, like the other clearing, the fondness and admiration clearing, and that chapter in the book talked about building a friendship with the person. And truly, I found in my own life that a friendship really is kind of the grounding space, the foundation of any kind of long-lasting love relationship or, any kind of relationship. Really having that friendship element there is really important. So we're going to prep to work, and this is asking permission from your soul to begin this clearing. And it's like my higher self and your higher self working together to clear any programs, negative energies, anything that needs to be cleared, to turn towards those you're in relationship with rather than away from or against, and provide those moments of connection, create those moments of connection with those who are important to us. So let's make sure we are prepped to work. And let's see where we start today. Okay, so we're starting with SRT, and this is a system that has 32 charts with different energies, different programs and things that can be cleared. So we're starting on a chart about themes and challenges, and let's see what Spirit has for us here today. And so the first item to be cleared then is called personal integrity. And this, I feel, is about being able to be in relationship with our own personal integrity and bringing that deeper feeling of personal integrity into our relationships, responding from that place of personal integrity when someone we care about does reach out to us, responding from that genuine place, rather than maybe kind of wanting to be angry at them or get back at them, or, well, you ignored me yesterday, so I'm going to ignore you, that kind of thing. So clearing all of that. Okay, where do we go next? And the next item now is clearing around friendliness, clearing to respond to the people we're in relationship with in a friendly way, in a welcoming way, in a supportive way that kind of facilitates that connection, that joyful sharing with each other. So clearing that. Okay, where do we go next? And now just clearing multiple sets of programs on this topic, maybe stuff that has built up, lifetime after lifetime. And so we don't need to know what it is, just kind of bringing in some energies to sweep out that multiple set of programs. Okay, seeing where we go next. So now clearing the subtle ethers. This is anything coming in from the cosmic energy, anything that's happening out in the cosmic energy, maybe that's affecting our perception of our relationships, how we view ourselves, how we view the other person. So just clearing anything coming in from the cosmic energy. Maybe ideas around all men are this way, or all women are this way, or relationships are this certain way. Maybe things we're taking on from the collective that perhaps don't necessarily apply. So clearing cosmic energy, clearing anything that isn't really ours. Now clearing any programs in the subconscious mind of one. There is this level of existence where we are truly all existing as one, fully, interconnected as we're all, sparks of the divine. We're all part of the oneness of the divine. And so clearing any programs in the subconscious mind at that level. Because since we are already connected anyway, having that knowledge come in can make it easier to connect with our partner or whoever else we're wanting to improve our relationship with, even if that's been hard to do in the past. Okay. And now just doing a general clearing to clear the soul of anything and everything else that needs to be cleared up. So clearing the soul. Now moving on to chart 28 about final forgiveness. Forgiveness is so important. So clearing anything that needs to be cleared to be able to forgive more fully. And the item that comes up here is called release anger at all levels. So releasing any, anger, negative feelings, hurt feelings, things like that would maybe prevent us from turning toward the other person when they try to connect with us. So now bringing in the energies of finishing, wrapping up, finalization, kind of grounding in the light from this clearing using SRT. Okay, and so that's a wrap for SRT. Just doing a complete mop-up, clearing anything and everything else that needs to be cleared before we move on to our next modality. Okay, so moving on to QST, which is quantum speed therapy. created by Alexandra of Spiritual Healing Therapy. She also has videos on YouTube on a lot of great topics. You can check her out as well. So starting off with chart 1, seeing what Spirit has for us there to clear. So the first item that comes up is memory entanglement. So clearing around, anything that needs to be cleared regarding memory, maybe memories of times you tried to reach out to the other person, but they didn't turn toward you, kind of going along with the releasing anger items. So clearing memory entanglement. And the next item that comes up is called healing integration. So bringing in energies to help you integrate this healing and to also help you further integrate any other clearing or healing work that you've already done around, relationships and turning toward the other person, connecting with the other person, that kind of thing, bringing in that healing integration. Okay, seeing what we have next. And the next item that comes up is called accelerator. So bringing in energies to kind of accelerate the process of this healing and being able to turn toward the other person when they do reach out to connect with you, or being able to turn toward them to be able to connect with them. And the next item that comes up on this chart is called facilitate. So this is like being able to facilitate the process of bringing the deeper level of connection into your relationship, kind of like being the lightning rod that brings the energy into the relationship. Because as I've said before on other videos, relationships are systems, and if one part of the system changes, it brings a change to the whole system. So, it could be that if you are able to respond more when the other person does try to reach out to you, it could, bring a shift in the whole relationship. Maybe they start reaching out more and it becomes more joyful or something like that. Just a hypothetical example. Okay, the next item that comes up is called activator. So being able to activate this process, like there's the facilitation energy and the energy of activation, kind of like the idea of being the change that you want to see. So like the idea of, if it is to be, it starts with me. So starting with you and kind of bringing that shift in, facilitating and activating the shift in your relationships. Okay, so moving on to our next chart, chart 2, seeing what Spirit has there for us. So adaptation and evolution. So being able to adapt and evolve in light of this clearing and this new information, being able to use these tools to adapt and evolve and see shifts in your relationship or relationships. And bringing in also the energies of reconstruction. Maybe there are a lot of ways things have felt broken, a lot of feelings of disconnection. Being able to reconstruct, rebuild that feeling of connection, rebuild, kind of reconstruct what has felt broken. Bringing in also the energies of completeness and completion. like completion of the previous cycle, the previous experiences, and also that feeling of completeness within ourselves, that feeling of connection with the divine within us that brings more of a feeling of completion rather than feeling broken and needing the other to make us whole. Feeling whole and complete on our own because we are in relationship and in connection with the divine within us. Okay, moving on to our next chart. And so the next item that comes up is called assimilating, and the feeling I get around this is it's the energy of really taking in this information and making it a part of your experience and how you're interacting with other people. So really taking in this information and acting on it. Taking in this energy and acting on it. To really feel that shift. Okay, moving on to chart 4. And the next item that comes up is called continuous spectrum. And this, I feel, is the energy of seeing life and your relationships as a journey, kind of maybe your life or your relationship with someone was one way yesterday, but along that spectrum as part of that journey, tomorrow it might be different. Just because it's always been one way doesn't mean that it's always going to be that way. There's this whole spectrum of experience, this whole journey, and that can change over time. Like just because something was one way yesterday doesn't mean that it's going to be that way tomorrow. There's always room for change. The journey is continuous. It's a continuous spectrum of experience. So bringing in that energy of continuous spectrum. Okay, so I'm getting the bump up signal, and so that's a wrap for QST. And that's a wrap for this clearing overall as well. So just completing a complete mop-up, wrap-up of all of this, kind of grounding in this clearing, kind of anchor, locking, and sealing it. Wrapping things up so that all work is done. And I hope you've enjoyed this clearing, and I hope that it is a blessing to you in your life and that you experience a positive shift in your life experience overall and especially your relationships. After a clearing, be sure to drink a lot of water, more than you normally would, to kind of help flush out the any energies or anything that needs to be flushed out. And it can take 3 to 4 days for the clearing to be complete. And if you ever are feeling like you need to revisit this or would like to watch this video again, you can always come back to it and watch it again, and it will continue working on the issue at hand. And so that's a wrap. And if you would like to go deeper on this topic or anything regarding relationships, you can visit me at amandabutler.net for a full clearing. I do have a clearing that is specifically for relationships, and if you mention this video when booking that clearing, it is 50% off. And if you'd like a clearing regarding something else, that's great too. And you can get 10% off of any of my other services when you mention this video. So again, thank you for watching today, and I wish you all the best. Namaste.